Hello Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers, this is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com. Today I want to discuss the benefits of having no belief systems in your outlook and perspective on life and what this reality is and what it means. So while this is not an attack or a sort of pointing fingers at any specific type of religion or belief system, it is sort of, and it's not a materialistic viewpoint, which I'll get to. It's a way of looking at what's the most beneficial way of perceiving things that's going to put us in the best position to avoid setting up expectations for ourselves, to avoid setting up stresses in our life in the forms of adopting a certain way that things should be, and when things are not in that specific way, then that is a stressor on ourselves. So for instance, if we have a certain belief system that says that this type of person is not suitable for, is not correct, it's bad to be this type of person, and when we're surrounded by those people, it can make us uncomfortable. So by letting go of those types of beliefs and adopting a more non-labeled belief system, or lack of a belief system, we can actually benefit ourselves and benefit the future of our species. So while this definitely touches on the ground for some people that is a little bit sensitive, if you're interested in watching this all the way through, by all means do so. But I'm going to share some examples of what I think are some limiting beliefs that some people hold on to, that I see, that I know exists, and that are obviously not serving those people or the world at large. So one would be any sort of belief system where people segregate other people for whatever lifestyle choice they make. So if someone chooses to be homosexual, obviously most people know by this point that this is an okay thing to do. If people wish to live that way, we can allow them to be that way. And just because ancient cultures saw that as a bad thing, more people are starting to realize that, we have to let people do what they do, and the science does clearly show that these people aren't choosing to be that way, this is the way they're born. The common argument actually by many people that are against homosexuality is that they don't see homosexual animals in nature. Yet, however, when we look at almost every single species, there are examples of naturally homosexual animals as well as heterosexual and bisexual animals. So sexuality is not something that can be put into a box and made into this one-size-fits-all paradigm. And that's the same for diet, it's the same for body size, it's the same for every aspect of human nature and nature in general. Another example of a limiting belief is the idea of karma. And in my view, and my understanding of having read Eastern sort of ideas and philosophies, is that a lot of people don't understand what karma is. A lot of people have rejected sort of a Christian belief system if it was at some point in their historical past, whether it was one generation or several generations past when that was let go of, and they're now sort of exploring Eastern philosophy, which by all means that there's some beneficial aspects to it. However, they're taking certain concepts and applying their Judeo-Christian understanding to it and interpreting it in that way. So karma is seen almost like sin, except for the fact that in the idea of sin, you have a human-like God that is punishing people and sort of keeping a list and checking it twice, you could say, for bad deeds. Whereas in the sense of karma, well, at least the way people are interpreting it, is they're saying, okay, so we've eliminated this idea of a human God with a beard and a white gown or whatever, and it's now just this machine that is all-pervasive and you cannot alter it, and it's just the way the universe is, and it's keeping track of bad deeds that we do, and we're gonna, if we, step on an ant or eat a piece of meat, then, a week or 5 months down the road or 3 lifetimes from now, there's no telling when something bad's going to happen to us as repayment for that, accident or non-accident that was technically bad in the view of this sort of Eastern religion. So my point is that, this is just one way of perceiving that law of karma. However, that's just a belief system. Have you ever actually had that experience of that happening to you? People talk about instant karma, but you make fun of your brother or sister and then a minute later you stub your toe and people go, oh, that's instant karma. It's like, really? Do you have proof that something in the universe told you that that was instant karma? Do you have some sort of supernatural event that brought about a message that said that was instant karma? No, these are just things that people pass along and talk about, and they've become ideas that people hold on to and like to spout off because it puts them into a group and makes them feel good about being part of that group. So whether or not instant karma or the law of karma exists, by just saying we don't know if it exists or not, we're actually in a much better position because we're open to either possibility. We haven't had absolute proof as to whether karma exists or not. We haven't had absolute proof whether homosexuality is a sin or not, whether people who are homosexual are going to go to hell or not. We don't have proof of that. We have people who have told us that these are bad things. We have people that have told us a whole slew of different belief systems, and we've adopted them whether we want to fit into this label or that label. And we have to really sort of question everything if we're looking to get into this place of having no beliefs and being free of sort of programs and ideologies that aren't based in facts. Now, like I was saying before, this isn't materialism. So the way that this isn't a materialistic view is that there are still going to be things that you personally had experience with and your own form of proof that validate things that aren't technically scientifically validated. I personally feel it's quite realistic to say there are a lot of things that science can't describe in this world, especially in the realm of spirituality and what's going on in the greater reality beyond just this physical material flesh. And when you have an experience that's your own, and as long as you're coming from a place of neutrality and understanding and mild skepticism, you're not going to get sucked into sort of a grandiose delusion. You can have a very valid experience that isn't replicable in a laboratory setting, whether it's, you know, some form of healing, spiritual healing, or, you know, mental, emotional healing that took place through whatever means that was often seen by sort of scientific, extremely skeptical community as invalid. Well, you know, these are your own personal experiences. But when we take on philosophies and just simple ideas and don't have a basis for them, and we just take them on because we read it in some book, whether it's a 2,000-year-old book, a 5,000-year-old book, or a 20-year-old book that has been written, we don't know where these ideas came from. And 100%, you know, a person could say, this is where they came from. I'm writing the word of the Almighty. I'm writing the word of Vishnu. I'm writing the word of some other supernatural being. But we do have to take into account this person. We don't know their state of mental health. We don't know 100% what's influencing their perception of reality. And while great things happen around us all the time, and do happen in the world that defy explanation, there are a lot of things that are influenced by one's belief system as well. You can create the experience of healing through a belief system. That's been scientifically validated. Well, so that's another layer that has to be taken into account. That, yes, you can believe wholeheartedly in the power of so-and-so as a spiritual entity that is creating this healing through just accepting them as your personal hero or savior or whatever. However, you could replace that being with anyone else, create some random name. And if everyone around you were believing 100% in this entity, and you just happen to come into contact with this group and become a part of it, you're probably going to have that same experience and have some sort of physical benefit from it. So this is just simply the power of the mind and sort of the mob mentality. And this is why it's so important to take into account what are my belief systems and really think about what everything I'm believing in, how valid is that, and how much is it segregating me from certain other groups that I might not agree with. Am I actually totally open and accepting to everything that's out there in the world that is of a positive nature, that's not causing me any direct physical harm? Is it worthwhile to point fingers and say that someone that's following a different path than me as wrong and the reincarnation of some malevolent entity or force, well, we have to really consider these things and think, is this the best thing for ourselves and is this the best thing for our world? When indoctrination is so strong and converts us so well to one specific belief system, we can get so wrapped up in rigorously sticking to these ideas that we never consider questioning them, we never consider how valid they are. We have to consider that sometimes these belief systems that people created in some sort of spiritual doctrine are often crutches that are made to influence people and have them behave a certain way. It's almost like a fast-track way of getting to an ideal state without actually doing the internal work. So fear is used as a way of motivating people to be a certain way. So these ideas of sin and karma, while they're very pervasive in people's belief systems, you have to really just think simply about this. Like if we were to just take karma, for example. If I believe in karma, then I think, well, it's bad to go out and harm people, it's bad to accidentally harm people without meaning to, so I have to be really careful and aware of everything I do in my day-to-day life so that I don't cause this bad karma that builds up inside me or out there in the universe that's keeping track of my progress. Because it's going to come back to haunt me someday, and I want to preserve my well-being, and I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to be a good person because of that. Now, could we ascertain that it might be a little more mature, spiritually mature, mentally mature, emotionally mature, to just simply say, I want to be a good person, so regardless of these belief systems, whether they're real or not, even if it wasn't real, I could be the most horrible person in the world to everyone and not have the bad consequences. Maybe I could just simply choose to be a good person because that's a good thing to be for the world, and by being a good person you do get that good treatment returned back to you. So the idea of karma, which is often described as do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, that really does describe it right there. If we're a good person, we do good deeds, we get them returned to us because people see we're a friendly person. And if we've done good things to people around us, they want to do good things back to us. It's a give and take situation. Now, is that karma? Has something out there kept track of our progress and our deeds and then influenced someone to return that deed to us? Well, if we just think about that logically, really all we've done is shown that we're a good person to someone else, and they've returned that because they personally have observed that in us. So we don't need to take on this belief system that, whether or not it's true or not, is influencing us and keeping us sort of caged in. It's sort of like a cosmic dictator that if we step out of line, it's going to smack us back into line. So what effect does that have on the psyche to believe in something that is like an authority figure that is keeping you in line? It's very juvenile to be in that position. You know, if you think of a kid, they have a parent figure, parental figures, and other parental roles in the community of authority figures. That yes, when they're a child growing up, they need that influence, but when we're mature enough to move on and progress in our own way, do we really need to have this fear-based belief system that's influencing us to be a certain way and behave a certain way because we don't trust ourselves to be good enough on our own? Is it possible to be good enough on your own by cultivating good qualities and inborn traits, to change your personality, to become a better person, to change the world for the better and change yourself for the better? I think it is. And this might be something you want to consider if you're sort of on the fence about certain ideas spiritually, morally, and even religiously. So that's just my ideas around some of these things. It's a little more of a philosophical video today, but you can see how this influences the health, and in retrospect, it will also influence your longevity. So with that, leave your comments below, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. So embrace life without limits.